And what happened is there was a fleet whose trucks are all underwater and they have to deliver food to North Carolina and can't get it there to the people. They're like, Gina, we need help. And reaching out to a network and being like, let's do this. People step up for each other. We had companies within 3 hours. I had 3 fleets going to bring their trucks there to bring food to these people and save their life. And it's like, the thing is, kindness is real, and kindness is something that everybody can do. And all you have to do, if you're even like, it's devastating. I was worried about my employee. I mean, I'm worried about her family. I'm worried about her friends. I could worry or I could take action. And Dr. Grossi said this, take action. So taking action is saying, how can I help? But if you're going to say how you're going to help, follow through and do something, take action. And connecting people, it doesn't take money. It just takes kindness and goodness to do something.
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor,
and Randy McNeely, the kindness giver. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm Randy McNeely, your co-host, known as the kindness giver, along with my other wonderful co-host, Dr. Elia Gourgouris. Where are you coming to us from today, Elia?
From the island of Corfu in Greece.
Oh my goodness. And doesn't he look at that happy smiling face? He's looking nice and tan. He's looking like he's just relaxed and having a great time.
I am in my happy place, no doubt.
We are thrilled to be able to be joined today by an amazing lady, Dr. Gina Anderson. And I want to tell you just a little bit about this wonderful lady. Dr. Gina Anderson, she's on a mission to help organizations grow their safety cultures through meaningful learning that inspires and engages employees. For over 25 years, she's focused her attention on studying how adults best learn. Gina is an avid learner herself, and she loves to help other people learn. She's consistently growing her methodology by engaging with transportation and logistic companies. So she works directly with a lot of trucking companies all over the United States. Dr. Anderson is the CEO of an amazing company called Luma Brighter Learning, which is an award-winning organization, and is also the 2-time recipient in 23 and 24 of the prestigious Inc. 5,000 Fastest Growing Companies. And Dr. Anderson routinely publishes new, measurable, science-based techniques specifically focused on driver learning to help companies improve their safety. And she also is the host of the I Love Learning podcast. Let me get that correct. The I Love Learning podcast, which features leaders from across the world sharing what motivates them to learn. She's also an author for Inc. magazine. She wrote Teaching Without a Teaching Degree, and she's also it's Teaching Without a Teaching Degree, Luma Learning Lessons. And there's so much more I could say about Dr. Anderson, but we're going to dive in so that you get a chance to get to know her better yourself and let her, just share a little bit of that love and light that she carries with her with the rest of our audience. Good morning, Dr. Gina. Thank you.
Good morning for that amazing introduction and having me here today. You both, I've listened to so many of your wonderful guests on the podcast, and I am just delighted and honored to be in the presence of both of you today. So thank you so much.
We're thrilled.
You're welcome.
To be here. Go ahead, Elia. What?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, before we get to the kind of stuff, I'm very curious about why are you so passionate about learning? You've made learning front and center as part of your life, and your scientific methods and how you've shared them across hundreds of thousands. You and I have spoken before. And how does that connect to kindness? How does that connect to happiness? And why learning? How did that get started?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking. For me, at a very, very young age, I learned the power of our mind, and that awareness of kind of our thoughts and our thinking at a very young age. I can remember being in 4th grade, having this thought of being aware of my thoughts and how they made me feel really young, and it made me really go into a career in helping people who specifically had learning challenges. In high school, I worked with an individual who had trouble writing his name. I've worked in a classroom with children with special needs in high school, and I really wanted to learn how is it that they have trouble tying their shoes or writing their names, and I'm fine. And so that desire and curiosity at a very young age really, it's just started, my whole foundation for my education and desire to help people. And as my knowledge grew, when I studied the brain and specifically the benefit of specifically kindness, for example, but our own mindsets, the power of changing the trajectory of your whole life. You can save somebody's life just based on this principle. And so I'm very passionate about it. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I've witnessed it, and it is incredible.
That is amazing. And you said two key words in there, desire and curiosity. You had the desire to learn and you let your curiosity drive that desire and you put that desire into action. That's a beautiful thing. And think about all the, you and I have talked before, and I think about the stories you shared about the trucking companies and the truckers, and we'll get more into that later, but all the amazing things and that you've been able to do because of that curiosity and that desire. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Randy. And I think it's just important for everyone to understand and realize that that power is inside of each of us, even if it doesn't feel like it's there, even if you're having trouble even getting up in the morning. Each of us possesses the power to do something about our lives and make a better opportunity. So, yes, definitely having a curiosity and passion. And if it's been extinguished, I want to help bring it back and bring that light back.
The other beautiful thing about the story you just shared, Dr. Gina, is that even in high school, you have such a big heart. Even in high school, your desire to help somebody write their name or tie their shoes. I mean, that's in that act of kindness towards those who are struggling, and you saw that. It takes a big heart. It's not just the observation that, hey, this person's struggling, how can I help? It says something about your heart being in the right place, kindness. So obviously, as a result of that, who's your kindness hero? How did that get started? What was the seed that was planted early on in your life where kindness became part and parcel of who you are as a human being?
Yeah, so I would say for me, it's interesting. I've really identified this idea of kindness more as an adult than a child, honestly. Like I had a moment in my professional career where I witnessed kindness in action and the difference in power it can make in the darkest of times. So all of us have had struggles in our life, like significant struggles, whether it's abuse or whether it's death or grief, or name, put whatever topic out there that we struggle with. But for me, I met someone, his name is Justin Clark, and he shared with me, and he was very authentic, sharing about a dark time in his life where he lost his twin brother to a tragic death. And in that darkest time of his life, he found gratitude. And what he did is, his brother, every year on Mother's Day, his brother had a really beautiful heart, and he would go to a coffee shop. And I think I've experienced this outside of this example, but he would buy all the mothers who came to the coffee shop a coffee without any question. And he did this every year. And so
What a great idea. That's a great idea to do that. Wow.
yes,
Randy,
and
you
just
and I, next Mother's Day, we got to do that wherever we are. Walk into a place and buy every mother a coffee or a tea or whatever.
yes, exactly. And so his brother, Justin, his brother Scott, who passed away suddenly, his brother said, what we're going to do in honor of my brother is we're going to go and we're going to buy coffee at a coffee shop. And so him and his wife, they formed a kindness foundation, and they have expanded and they do lots of goodness in Scott's honor. But he invited me and he said, Gina, he's like, you have to experience this. It's incredible. And so with him, we sponsored a coffee shop locally. We were trying to get coffee shops all over the country to do this. And you know what was really interesting, you both, when I went there and I proposed this to the coffee shop, they were like, what? Like they couldn't even believe it. They're like, you want to do what? Like put your credit card in. And so I'm not a mother, unfortunately. And so for me, Mother's Day actually brings sadness for me. And I told them I want anybody that would like a coffee. They don't have to be a mother. They could be somebody who's a sister, who's a wife, anybody that, comes in that would like a coffee. They just have to ask and we will provide and we will buy them a coffee. And that made me feel good on a day that's sad for me, and creates sadness. To be able to give back actually creates good and it releases positive neurotransmitters. So the people in the coffee shop were shocked that I was going to buy coffee, and I explained the story to them. They had to ask their manager. It was like this big hurdle to get them to allow me to do this because they didn't think it was reality. So this idea of
You're
kindness.
totally skeptical at that point.
Right. They're like, what? Is this for real?
What's the
And
catch?
I'm like, yes.
What's the catch?
Right.
Exactly.
There
What do you want?
Right. And I wanted to bring my mascot down and get pictures and just like have this amazing day. And so my experience with it was good in the end. But this idea of people even accepting kindness, is something that I think we still have to, overcome. But that was my experience with Justin. And, our company's together, like we always doing like good things for people. And last week he sent me this. This is a beautiful. He sent me a truck. He's in logistics and he owns a company that supports logistics. And this is my company logo, just out of the blue. I mean, he does these things, we do these things. That's the thing. Kindness doesn't have to be like you buy coffee for everyone in a coffee store, right? But it's showing up and doing good things for people when they don't expect it. And that is the power and the goodness that helps your brain release neurotransmitters that make you feel better, even at the darkest times.
It's actually even more important during the darkest times. That's
absolutely
even more so.
Yeah, it's even more important during those darkest times. Because I sit and think about a time when I was in college and I was terribly depressed, and a big friend of mine came and dragged me to a Big Brothers and Big Sisters meeting and got me out of myself. And I needed to get out of my head. I need to get out of my bed. I need to get out of my head. And in that dark time, it got me out, got me thinking about other people, thinking about service and giving and helping someone else. And that was a lifesaver for me at the time. And it has been many other times. So that's a fantastic story. I love the way that, he turned what could have been it would have been very easy for him, especially losing his twin.
Yes.
Would have been very easy for him to get bitter and to be angry and upset.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I don't know what happened with the accident, but whatever happened, it would have been easy for him to go into a dark hole.
Yes.
But instead, he thought about, and think about it, his brother's kindness, his brother's example inspired him to want to go and pay it forward himself. So,
and he's inspired others like my company and me to do the same, like being in line at a grocery store and buying someone's groceries. I mean, just opening a door for someone. I mean, all this stuff, you never know what somebody's going through in that moment. And just being there and just being that person. And the fact that he has done this and he's created an organization around paying it forward and being kind, is something that, people can do without forming a huge company. It just takes something small. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. The small things become the big things. They work, they start.
And I love the fact that these are not random things, that these are, conscious, deliberate, mindful. They're not random acts of kindness. I think that, most acts of kindness are not random, actually. People think about it and they see an opportunity, but they act. Because there are a lot of people who see the opportunity and they're just more observers. And then they think, oh, I should have done something, versus like jumping into action, and then the ripple effect begins, right? And then it continues to spread and widens, sometimes over decades. One simple act of kindness and it ripples. It's amazing.
When a wallet was returned just moments after it was lost, a purpose was found. This one act of kindness inspired the formation of the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Kindness Week Worldwide mobilized the entire community in York, Pennsylvania, featuring initiatives and playbook programs including blood drives, kindness cards, K-12 and college students embracing kindness, and an innovative means of community policing, kindness citations. If something so magical can happen in York, Pennsylvania, the same and other inspirations can happen anywhere and everywhere. Our Screen Scenes initiative featuring the Kindness Factor will showcase these many stories of kindness. Let's include your community among them. Kindness is the heartbeat of the world. Together, with your support, we can make all its hearts beat as one.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you know, what people don't maybe realize is what's happening chemically from a learning science, from a neuroscience standpoint in your brain when this happens. So when you, at some point, you have to reach the darkest point of possible in your life to be able to tap into this deep love that, you know, you can experience. And for Justin and losing his brother, you know, when you lose something or someone, or, you know, have something tragic, it's like, to be at that point, that is when there's opportunity, like you said, to act. So you have to make that conscious decision to refocus and tune into your thoughts. And so that's one thing I'm writing about, is helping people be able to tune into their thoughts and refocus them into something good, because that is where you feel, that is where you experience the deepest love that you would possibly ever feel in that moment.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And think about, you know, in being able to assess their thoughts, assess their feelings, assess how they're doing, and then choose. That's the thing, you know, we live in a time when so many want to say, I'm just this way. This is the way I am. I can't change. I was born this way, or this is how I am. This is how I act. And the reality is when we say that we're just that way, that's just what we're saying is we're like animals, that we don't have, you know, we just live off instinct. And that's absolutely not true. The fact is that we can choose how we respond to things. We can't, you know, we don't always have control, obviously, over our circumstances and what's around us, but we have absolute control over how we respond.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to use an example, Randy, that happened this past weekend. And I think a lot of people are struggling. I actually know people are struggling, because last Thursday I was in Chicago, you both, and I asked a crowd of 300 people, how many people in that room felt like 9 or 10s? Guess how many people raised their hand?
Maybe
Out of 300.
10, 20,
30, 10%.
There were 3 people in a room of 300 people that raised their hand.
1%. Wow.
Yeah. It was incredible. And it's not in a good way, you know. And then I think about the hurricane. I got home early on a plane so I would avoid the hurricane. I have people on my team who live in Asheville. I have people, I have companies who have lost everything. We have people who've lost everything. We have all this tragedy that you can't control. You can't control it. Saturday, I asked who needs help, you know, just putting it out there, who needs help, you know, asking people, when you feel out of control, like you can't do anything, you could focus on the bad and the pictures and the people and the devastation. But when you can step out and reach and say, who needs help? And what happened is there was a fleet whose trucks are all underwater, and they have to deliver food to North Carolina and can't get it there to the people. They're like, Gina, we need help. And reaching out to a network and being like, let's do this. People step up for each other. We had companies within 3 hours. I had 3 fleets going to bring their trucks there to bring food to these people and save their life. And it's like, the thing is, kindness is real, and kindness is something that everybody can do. And all you have to do, if you're even like, it's devastating. I was worried about my employee. I mean, I'm worried about her family. I'm worried about her friends. I could worry, or I could take action. And Dr. Grossi said this, take action. So taking action is saying, how can I help? But if you're going to say how you're going to help, follow through and do something, take action. And connecting people, it doesn't take money. It just takes kindness and goodness to do something. And I love that, because we can't control a hurricane. I think there's 3 more coming. We can worry about it or we can do good things. And I think that's the beauty of what we have here and what you two are doing in your work is you're bringing people together for the power of making a difference and saving lives and helping each other, lifting each other up, doing great things. And that's powerful.
Thank you for your kind words. I think something you said that's really also vitally important is for somebody to say, I need help.
Mm.
Like that fleet, they asked you, we need help. We need logistical help. We need help. A lot of times people are afraid to ask for help because they think nobody's going to answer the call, but that's not really true. I believe in the goodness of humanity. I think Randy and I are so heart-centered human beings, both of us. We believe in the goodness of people. You ask for help, people are going to show up, and sometimes they're going to show up big time, and they're going to show up bigger than you can even imagine. Like not only give you the help that you need, but above and beyond that. So I don't know if it's fear or ego sometimes when we don't ask for help when we should. So I guess the call to action to everybody that's listening, if you're struggling, whatever the struggle that might be, if it's hurricane caused, I mean, that's an unusual event. It happens once in a while, but it does happen. But really, if you're struggling in a relationship, if you're struggling with your mental health, if you're struggling with loneliness, get outside that. I know it's uncomfortable to ask for help. I know it personally because I don't rarely ask for help actually. So I'm part of that same group. And yet when I do, it gives the opportunity to other people to say, we're so glad you asked for help.
Yes.
I have never asked for help, even though it doesn't happen very often, and not gotten an overwhelming response by people in their acts of kindness towards me, So I feel like that's part of the equation. If we're struggling, don't keep it to yourself. Open up, be vulnerable. I know it takes vulnerability, but ask for help anyway.
Exactly.
Think about this. Think about what happens when you're willing to do that. When you're willing to open up and ask for help, it's bearing your heart to somebody else and saying, I'm in this position where I need someone to come in and paint on my heart. Really. I need someone to help me to make it through this challenge, through this situation, help me to be able to go forward. But at the same time, as you open up your heart and look for opportunity, you say, okay, I need help. But then you're preparing yourself for thinking, okay, someone's giving me help now, but you're preparing yourself to be able to help in the future.
Absolutely.
If we're not, at least I've had this experience, and maybe it's not the same for everybody, but I find it when I struggle to ask for help, a lot of times if I'm in that mode, I also find it harder to want to go and help. If I'm not willing to recognize the fact that I need to be able to ask for help as well, it makes it harder for me to be as helpful to others as I could be. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really tied to not only confidence, but like being trusting yourself, and not only trusting yourself, but not having fear to do something, to take action, to ask for help. Because I think a lot of times people make assumptions. That's like one of the biggest cognitive hurdles that a lot of people have, is that they think that somebody's thinking something that they're really not thinking about. It holds us back. So it's like, I think that Gina's a CEO, so I don't think that she struggles. Or I think that Randy, really doesn't want to help, or whatever those thoughts are that people have. That is a specific scientific condition that we have that hold us back. And so we shouldn't, if we're aware of our thoughts and we're thinking about, like, I think this person is thinking this way, so I'm not doing this because that's how they think. I mean, you just made that up.
Challenge,
You have
I would
control.
say challenge that thought. Yeah, I would say challenge that
Yes,
thought because most likely it's not true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm thinking about what's the basis in fact for my thinking this way? How do I know that they're thinking that? And if I can't read minds and I'm
Right,
just making something up, then what am I stressing out about? They might be thinking
right.
that, but I don't know. Am I going to let what someone might be thinking keep me from doing the things that I need to do?
Right. It's like, I'm not going to tell people, like, I'm not going to like ask people, do you need help? Because I'm not going to post that, even though I would help. I'm not going to, because of something someone would think. It's like all these things hold us back. All these thoughts that we have about our thinking hold us back. And so Absolutely. Like if you're struggling, like asking, taking the pride, like not being so prideful that you can't ask for help.
Or
And
scared. Either way, it could be
yes,
fear too.
But and here's
exactly.
another way to think about it too
Mhm.
is, and it's something that has motivated me and made it easier for me to ask help because I really have a hard time asking for help. But
I
Mm.
think most people
I had
do,
a
though.
I
That's
had a
an
friend of
easy one.
mine that offered to help me with something. I can't remember what it was, but he offered to help me, and I said, "No, I think I can handle it." And then he just looked at me,
Mm.
Randy, why are you depriving me of having the opportunity to serve you?
Wow,
Oh, wow, that's
Why are you
powerful.
that is
doing that?
powerful.
He said, "Just
Hmm.
let me receive the blessing. Let me have the chance to serve so that I
Mm.
and just receive it." Like I think
Hmm.
Elia, when the people on the trip you were on last year, just receive it. Say thank you, you know.
Right. That that is a beautiful thought to say and express because that's another hurdle of accepting it, accepting a compliment, accepting kindness, right? Like saying accepting a compliment, and that's something that you don't realize the impact that has on someone else. It's like giving someone a gift and being like, oh, I can't have that, or I can't accept that. It's just as being as kindful. Another act of kindness is showing grace to someone that's expressing grace and kindness to you. So I love that.
I just had that
Dr. Gina,
experience.
believe it or I was just going to say, believe it or not, our time is up. It's gone by so fast. You and
Oh
I,
my gosh,
the
it
three of us
has.
could talk for, no, we're past the time. I know. But real
Oh,
quick,
got it.
the way that we end every episode is we ask you for three gems, three pearls of wisdom, three bullet points for our audience to take home, to contemplate, and then to help them move into action. So what are your three gifts? I mean, from your heart, from your mind, from your knowledge, from your experience. The three things.
Yeah, so my first gift is know that you have the power to make the choice to do something kind. The second gift is, accept kindness from other people because that actually helps in terms of that person's perception of kindness. And the third thing is, give yourself grace. It's
Mm.
okay if you feel like you're not expressing things a certain way that people think you should. Be kind to yourself and, move forward in goodness.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What else could we say? You
We
know,
said at the same time, beautiful. Yes.
Thank you all for having me today. I appreciate it.
well, okay, so
Where can people reach? How can people find you?
yeah,
Give us
how can they connect?
your connections
Yeah,
to LinkedIn.
so yep, exactly. My LinkedIn, Dr. Gina Anderson. You can go to learningwithgina.com. Those are the two best places. Luma Brighter Learning is my company. So you can find me either place. But I appreciate you all so much. Keep shining, keep doing what you're doing.
Do you have social media links on those pages as well, like for Facebook or Instagram or any of those things?
Yeah, so on learningwithgina.com, I'm on Spotify, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Apple iTunes. Yep, they're all on my website.
Wonderful. We'll make sure that all of that is in the description. So,
Thank you
Super.
for being on our show, and I really like your third point about grace and being kind to yourself. That's we can never repeat that enough for the folks that
Yeah.
are listening. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you so much. Good.
really, before we
Okay,
go, we wanted to say thank you to our audience for joining us today
of
and for
course.
joining this conversation. And take the time, please take the time as an audience, take the time to think about what you learned, how it's applicable to you, and what you're going to do with that to pay things forward. Go out and have a wonderful rest of your week. And remember, with kindness, everybody
Everybody wins.
take care.
Oh.